Final round of the season of GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Endurance Cup. It is a 3-hour race here in the sunshine in Barcelona. We're at the Circuit de Catalunya and we are ready for qualifying. It is approaching 10:25 local time. The drivers are ready, the teams are ready, and we are ready. And it's an important qualifying session, not only because it's going to affect the grid, of course, for the afternoon race, but also there are points available in the classes for the team that gets pole position. And we still have the championships to be resolved in Pro, Gold, Silver and Bronze. It is going to be a really busy 3-hour race this afternoon. Alex Legree down in the pit lane, David Anderson and Joe Osborne trackside. And Joe, this is the track.
Yes, 14 corners, 4.6 kilometres split across the 3 sectors and lots of overtaking opportunity. But the big buzz in the paddock is tyre degradation. It's always been hard on Tyres Barcelona, but this year seems very, very low grip, even compared to the sprint race here last season. Lap times looking like they're over a second slower, and then the degradation anything up to 4 seconds, depending on which team and driver you want to believe.
Looking down then onto a very busy paddock, and you can see how busy the pit lane is. 60 cars we have for this session. Yesterday, the teams had free practice and pre-qualifying. The pre-qualifying session always felt more urgent. It felt like people were attacking it more and going for a time rather more than they did in free practice. But generally, it was a slower session. It was a really quirky hour that we had yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, it was the 59 McLaren, wasn't it, that ended up fastest in pre-quali on a 40.8, and that was Benji Goethe setting the time in that car. We just didn't really see the BMWs coming forward with any offering of pace. They were outside the top 20. This was a car that struggled as well. They did a gearbox change yesterday in between free practice and pre-quali. And our Spa 24-hour winning car, this 63 Grassa GRT Lamborghini, has not seemed to be at the front end thus far this weekend.
So this is how we stand in the championship as far as the overall class, the Pro Cup, is concerned. Matteo Carelli, Mauro Engel, Lucas Auer are the leaders ahead of Sven Muller, Alessio Picariello and Patrick Niederhauser, with then Calvin van der Linde, Hugo de Wilde and Charles Weerts third. Those are the 3 that could take the crown in that championship, as at the end of the pit lane the lights go green and our first 15-minute segment then is underway. Yeah,
we've seen it very often this season, haven't we, with a lack of cars taking to the track at the start of the session, and I think it could be even more prevalent with the 60 cars on the grid, the tyre delta being so big. The driver's saying they've got 1 push lap, that's it. Tyres are coming out the oven, so the tyres are ready to go as soon as they're bolted onto the cars. The drivers then nurse them on this 4.6 kilometre out lap and then have got 1 push. So if you go early, the problem is you may stumble across other cars on their out laps trying to look after the tyres, and we've seen that as a strategy. But cars taken to the circuit, we've got 10 on track so far, so still 50 to blink, and at the moment the 96 sat here not blinking whatsoever, visor down, fully focused.
The other aspect that we've discussed over the course of the season is that the emphasis has changed, rather, from always having your fastest driver going out in Q3 to perhaps having them in Q1. It's less clear-cut these days. Now, you might argue that's because you've got so very evenly matched competitive drivers across every car. Sometimes, though, you might put your absolute star driver in when the car's heavier on fuel, for example, or in a cooler temperature at the start of the session. So there's quite a bit more thinking now into the driver order for the qualifying sessions.
Yeah, the combined nature of it makes the individual performance relatively unimportant in terms of the overall lap time. It is the collective that's more important. Lucas Auer here, about to start, potentially the only push lap of his session, depending on how the tyre hangs on.
And the grid, just again to make the point, although we've got 3 parts of qualifying, it is the average of the 3 drivers that will dictate the grid. So you have to do a good lap, yes, but your co-drivers do as well. And this is where the real interest comes in some of those bronze cars, where you've got a platinum graded driver in the entry, but you've got to have at least 1 bronze. So you've got 1 really good lap and certainly 1 not quite so good lap, and the car rises and falls down the order depending on who's behind the wheel as far as its grid position is concerned. So Lucas Auer, he sets the target briefly in sector 1 and then loses that because quicker has gone Carol Bausch, another Mercedes AMG driver.
Yeah, that sector 1 time quicker than any in pre-quali yesterday, so the lap times look like they're going to be in the low 1-minute 40s. Pole position last year for sprint, as a reference, was a 1:39.0 in a Barwell Lamborghini by Patrick Cajado. Big slide for Lucas Auer there. So at the moment, this tyre hanging on, and it seems like the rear dropping off first for this Mount Filter 48 Mercedes.
And what Joe was touching on a little while ago is about to happen. Look how busy it is up the road. There are still plenty of cars to venture out onto the circuit as well, so it's only going to get busier. You want to be out early in a sense and get a banker lap in before the traffic really becomes an issue. You've got Luke Hartog looking good in Sector 1 in Porsche number 97, the Retronic car that runs in bronze. But from the Pro Cup then, here is Lucas Auer accelerating now down towards turn 13, and you can see a personal best in Sector 1, an absolute best in Sector 2. If it's green, it's good. If it's purple, it's really good. And Lucas Auer then, he's going to stop the clock in a moment and do the target time heading up towards the line. Let's see what he can do then. So Lucas Auer breaks the beam on a 1:40.473. That puts him fastest so far.
Yeah, where's that going to be at the end of it? Can Hartog go sub 1:40? Sector 1, very good. Ooh. Just about keeping legal out of 13. One wheel has to be on the track or white line at any one point, and so far he's kept it legal. Crosses the line on a 1:40.7. That Sector 3 went away from 97 Rutronic Porsche. As
Ayenchen Guven puts the Schumacher CLRT Porsche to the top of the times, a 1:40.3 is a tenth quicker than Lucas Auer. So Ayenchen Guven goes top. That's the car being shared this weekend by Larry Ten Voorde and newcomer, the Porsche Super Cup champion of this year, Alessandro Giretti. 63, the Lamborghini there, the Spa and Nürburgring winning car of Luca Engschler, Jordan Pepper, Mirko Bortolotti. That is yet to go. You're looking there at Alessio Picariello sitting down, Sven Muller standing, and Patrick Niederhauser will be in their car, number 96. That's another one, of course, fighting for the championship.
Yeah, as we go on board with Auer, he is up in Sector 1, 67 thousandths up. He's about to go through Sector 2. Has he got 2 laps on this car, or has the tyre gone? It's slightly down by only 6 thousandths, so there's a chance he could still improve on his time, which is good enough for second at the moment.
And it looks therefore that he is going to be able to squeeze 2 proper flying laps out of this set of tyres. So Guven is quicker than Auer, and Guven's going quicker again in the first sector. Lucas Auer then now powering his way out of turn 13 past the new building on the right, on the left, as he drops down to the last right-hander, comes up now in front of that huge grandstand towards the line. The time he's got to beat is a 40.3. The time he does is a 40.5. So actually slower on the second push lap.
Yeah, and that's what we're expecting. Caroli, his teammate, looking on at that, and he looks slightly illegal to me on the last corner track limit wise as well, and some track limits getting cancelled at the moment, turns 5 and 10 and 14, and the last one was car 48, so he lost his last lap. It looked illegal on board, and race control agree.
So it was slower anyway, but it's been taken off him. So Lucas Auer having to rely on that first lap. And again, it shows the importance where you've only really got 2 proper flying laps to get out of a set of tyres before they lose their peak. You can't afford to be wasting them by running wide. And I'm surprised actually that Auer did so, because he's one of the more experienced drivers on this grid. He's one of the smoother as well. Yeah,
and he's been in amazing form all season. Garage 59 releasing 2 of their cars there into traffic, but that's the nature of GT World Challenger Endurance. 60 cars, 4.6 kilometres. There just isn't the space the drivers want, and at the moment we're still waiting for 15 cars to even join us on circuit. So we've got 75% of them out there, but still 25% to go.
Yeah, this is the shortest lap at 4.6 kilometres on the endurance calendar. So rather different from, say, Spa, and with such a busy grid. Traffic's going to be a factor from very early on in the race. You can see here, drivers are on the lights. That is Ayenchen Guven's Porsche, the fastest car. Behind, you've got number 5 McLaren of James Allen. That's one that runs in gold, the Gold Cup, which is another competitive class. We haven't yet got any representative times out of gold. As away now goes number 32 BMW then. Sprint champions already this season. And now Kelvin van der Linde, along with Hugo de Wilde and Charles Weerts, the outsiders for endurance, but you rule out WRT at your peril. That car is about to trip the beam at the end of the pit lane and join the session. The way does James Allen's Optimum McLaren goes. He comes over the timing line. 13th is the answer to number 5 there at 98 BMW venturing out on the track as well.
You would say the BMW was doing a very fair job of staying out the way for cars already on circuit as well, really slowing down to make sure he doesn't impede anyone there as he joins the circuit on his out lap, and that was Arcus Tufathis. Here's Lucas Stoltz. This was a car that was very quick yesterday. This was my tip for pole position yesterday evening over dinner, wasn't it, David? And how's Luca getting on? Pace looked good in sector 1, but look at the traffic, and he's lost half a second in that middle sector. I think that's because he is so close to the Lamborghini in front, and he's backed out of this. He's thinking, you know what, there's no point taking stress out the tyre if I'm not going to finish it. But look, there's nowhere to slot into. The only gap is 2 more cars behind him, and it doesn't seem like he wants to let those go, as now Rutronic get tyres on the 96 for Patrick Niederhauser with less than 7 minutes remaining. They could find themselves in a clear bit of track as long as they don't fall over cars on their out laps, or more importantly now their in laps after their push laps.
Yeah, the traffic is getting to be the problem. It makes you wonder why they've left it so late, because they knew the road was going to get busy. They've seen how many other teams are on track and are waiting to go out as well. So it's slightly puzzling. However, it might work. Alessio Rovera here has done the absolute best in the first sector, so Rovera the next one to watch.
Yeah, this is a phenomenally fast first sector. This could get us into the 139s if sector 2 and 3 follow suit. Anything in the low 40s here in sector 2 would be good as he crosses the line. He's well inside that. This is on for pole position. He's got enough space in front of him, has Rovera here in the 51 cars. We pick up Joseph Loca, who's also on a mega lap. He's coming through into the final corner now. Is this car going to be our first to break the 1:40 barrier?
Good effort this, isn't it, by the Macclesfield driver. Joseph Loke then in his first season of GT racing comes up to break the beam, and he will go across the line to do a 1:40.041. He goes quickest then by 0.2 of a second from Ancient Guven, who's in the pit lane. We're not done yet. Rovera now goes fastest. He does a 39.8. Brilliant lap by Alessio Rovera then to go to the top of the times, and it proves that even with the traffic on the circuit, you can go quickest. Here is Sprint Cup champion Kelvin van der Linde then bouncing the BMW over the curve at 7.
Yeah, sector 1 okay, but already 2 tenths down on that purple sector that Rovera did on his provisional pole lap. At the moment, our only car sub 140 is the 51 Ferrari coming through sector 2 now, about to hit the brakes hard for the slowest corner of the lap. Turned down at 10, down to second gear. The lap is okay at the moment, luckily for him. The sister car to the 51, the Sky Tempesta Ziggo car, 93 out the way, going in deep there, trying to rotate the car. This BMW seems a little bit lackluster with the change of direction at slow speed.
It's doing personal best, as you would expect, but significantly not absolute best. So no purples being offered up as the car now comes down through 14 up towards the timing line. So Kelvin van der Linde then up towards the beam. The BMW seemed to struggle yesterday in pre-qualifying, but fourth is a pretty decent start, isn't it? 1:40.353. Kelvin van der Linde is 0.490 of a second off the top time of Alessio Rovera.
Yeah, and talking about starting, Niederhauser starting his push lap just in front of that 32 BMW. Here we can see Arthur Rouget, purple sector 2, so the McLaren's looking very strong in the mid part of the lap. Here's James Baldwin in another one. Here he is coming through into this final part of the lap. This could be a lap at the moment to get him higher than his current 20th. I think this could be somewhere just outside the top 10. And
this is in the Silver Cup for racer, esports star, broadcaster James Baldwin then coming up towards the timing line, goes through, and he's going to be 13th after that, 1:40.794. James Callett's on an out lap. Jake Dennis in 991, the Formula E champion, coming up towards the end of the lap as well, but he's got a little bit stuck in traffic. The Porsche gets out of his way. This is Jake's view, down to 14.
Now that would have compromised 2 or 3 tenths for the Englishman Jake Dennis. Where's he going to go in this parody 991 car? Crosses the line, goes up to 4th, fastest BMW. Great lap.
That's going to be significant for the WRT squad, isn't it? So Rovera is the fastest, and then that lap taken off Jake Dennis for track limits. So scrap all that. It puts the WRT entry back to the best BMW. But Adam Smalley, also for Garage 59, has now gone 3rd. So you've got Rovera ahead of the McLarens from the Andrew Piccoli, Chris Goodwin team of Luke and Smalley 2nd and 3rd. Guven's Porsche 5th, van der Linde's BMW next, and Arthur Rouget's McLaren, the CSA car, rounding out the top 6. At the moment, the best silver is the Audi of Leonardo Moncini, and the best bronze, Luke Hartog, who is 10th.
Yeah, and here's Farthers in Sector 3, has had an average Sector 2 and is now on the back of James Allen in that Optimum McLaren. Allen's been out there for a few laps, so may box after the next corner and release Farfus. But at the moment, Farfus hasn't got the pace to get inside the top 10. Allen does stay out as well. I'm surprised that Stoltz down in 21st. He's boxed as well. Yeah. He's done for Q1.
And Lucas Auer is also in the pit lane, 7th. Patrick Niederhauser, championship rival, his first flying lap put him 9th. So the Porsche is there or thereabouts, to use that awful phrase. Jake Dennis, in the meantime, trying to put a lap together here without the track limit offences. Coming up now towards turn 12. 2 personal bests, but nothing really to base it against. He and Mirko Bortolotti are the 2 without a lap time.
Yeah, and at the moment he would be 4th if he had not run wide. Turn 5 was his indiscretion. The previous lap just about legal. Out of 13 into 14. 1 more track limit, 1 more corner to go. Can Dennis keep it legal? He can. He's going to push to the line. Where's this lap going to put him?
The answer is he breaks the beam. He's 23rd then, so not quite as good as anticipated. This is Patrick Niederhauser, 9th. Now he has done a good first sector and a not so good second sector. As you can see, he's lost a little bit of time in sector 2. He's a couple of tenths down on what he ideally needs to be. So Niederhauser following this pattern of the first lap being really good, the second being not quite so good. And is he going to see it out? He is. He's going to get to the line rather than box. But Patrick Niederhauser comes up now towards the timing line. The best lap of the session, Alessio Rovera, the only driver in the 139s. Patrick Niederhauser breaks the beam, and that lap from the Porsche was better, 140.494. That brings him up to 8th. Were this to be our grid, you would have the 48 Mercedes and the 96 Porsche fighting for the championship side by side on the grid. Yeah, that would be an interesting battle. Rouget still out as well, and not many cars improving after their first flyers, so it's only really able to improve that lap if you've had traffic, which obviously is quite prevalent out there. Over the line in the background is going to come the Tommy Foster driven McLaren of RJN. The 2Cs Mercedes AMG goes by. Trouble with McLaren getting out of the way there. This is Tom Leben coming up towards the timing line, sharing with British GT champions Charles Dawson and Cian Jewis. Tom Leben goes through, and that puts the car up to 33rd and 6th in class, 6th in the Bronze Cup. And shout out to the Audi in 9th of Moncini, our silver class pole position at the moment. Sandy Mitchell in a VSR Lamborghini has got the clear run as Harry King gets out of his way in that Verstappen.com Aston Martin. It's not a great middle sector though, and when the tyre drops off, there is nothing you can do as the driver. That grip is gone forever. The tyre's fastest at the start of his life because that's when the rubber is at its softest. Checker flag is out. Harry King getting out of the way, as Joe mentioned, currently 4th in gold and leading the Gold Cup within the championship. Harry King sharing with Thierry Vermeulen and Chris Lallen. This then is Mirko Bortolotti, the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa winner, along with Luca Enschler and Jordan Pepper, and the Lamborghini then now coming over the brow out of turn 12, down the hill through 13, keep falling into 14, and Bortolotti.
இன்னும் நீ வேட்டையாட வேண்டிய மிருகங்கள் நிறைய இருக்கு. அவன் தலை எனக்கு வேணும். தண்டனை அனுபவிக்கிற தைரியம் இருக்கிறவன் தான் தப்பு செய்யணும்.
Flyer. His tyres are the freshest out of anyone inside the top 10, whereas the 99, the Audi, it did 4 flying laps, so they've got another 15k on them over the Loke 59.
So don't pound round, going slower and slower and taking life out of the tyres. Do 1 lap and then box. This is the quickest car thus far, the Ferrari of Alessio Rovera. The Ferraris didn't look all that startling yesterday, though, did they? But when it matters, the team's stepping up to the plate.
Yeah, they've really turned it on. And it's always nice as a driver when you're in your own second bracket, the only one to be in the 39s. And they've obviously got a fast car over the lap. And we've seen issues for the AF course. And we in the races, the contact at Nürburgring really hurt them. But they've been very fast over a lap. And that's been a story season long.
Alessio Rovera, reigning Endurance Cup champion. with Alessandro Pierguidi, who's not here this weekend. So into the car to join Vincent Abril comes Yifei, the Le Mans winner this year. So far, Alessio Rovera by 0.178 of a second quicker than Joseph Lote. McLaren chasing Ferrari third, another McLaren, Adam Smalley, Lamborghini fourth, Mirko Bortolotti, Porsche fifth, Ian Schenguven, McLaren sixth, Arthur Rougier, BMW seventh, Kelvin van der Linde, Mercedes AMG, the best of those eighth, Lucas Auer, Porsche ninth, Patrick Niederhauser, and Audi 10th, Leonardo Moncini. The best of the golds, Adam Smalley, the best of the silvers, Leonardo Moncini, the best of the bronzes is Luke Hartog's Porsche, that is 11th in the times. All 60 did record a lap time, although one or two further cancellations even after the checkered flag. So that's all of interest. Now, though, we have to monitor the pace of the two co-drivers, and it is the average time of the three that will determine the grid. One or two cars perhaps out of sequence, but get some quick drivers on board, then they're going to be shuffled up the order accordingly. So a few minutes, 7-minute break, and then you get the second driver into the cars. Just work to be done really on a new set of tyres that corresponds to this driver, the allocated set. There is the car's second in pro in the championship. Patrick Niederhauser's work done. He was a winner here with Sven Muller in sprint last year, but in endurance for this season, life's been a bit tougher. Alessio Picariello looks like he's going to go next. They were second at Spa, winners of the IGTC part of the CrowdStrike 24 Hours. They've had a sprint win, Patrick along with Sven Muller at Zandvoort, but not endurance winners. Alessio Rovera, though, fastest so far. Let's go to Alex Legui with Alessio.
Alessio, once again, brilliant start to your session. What did you find that you unlocked today, and also what information did you give as you handed the car over to Vincent?
Basically, yeah, it was a good lap. The only thing was I got a track limit, and we didn't know if it was the first or the second lap, and it was the last corner, so you took also the next lap. But in the end, P1, I'm really happy. I just said to Vince that probably the peak of the tires is the first lap. Already the second is giving up a bit. But yeah, it's a good start of the session. Let's keep going.
Fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Great start.
Alessio Rovera there, the fastest driver so far, and that's a good lap by Rovera, as you were saying, the only driver to get below the 1:40 bracket, and even a couple of drivers in that part of qualifying tied on time.
Yeah, Chris Froggatt and Ivan Klimenko, 20th and 21st to the 1,000. So whoever does the time first gets it. Of course, with the combined nature, that's less important by the time drivers 2 and 3 drive those cars.
So Alessio Rovera then for the AF Corsa squad. And he is the fastest so far. And Vincent Abril and Yifei are going to be good, but Yifei not that au fait with GT Ferraris. Very good in the hypercars, as we've seen in the World Endurance Championship, but it'll be interesting to see how he slots in. So, incoming driver, new set of tyres, and we go again. 15 minutes, 1 or 2 lessons learned, possibly from the teams about when to release the cars. Now, if they got it wrong in terms of traffic first time, they can factor that in to the run plan now.
Problem is, you've learned your lesson, but then all 59 competitors are doing something different again. So there is so much luck. The only chance you've got to change your bullet trajectory in qualifying is on your out lap, is in constant communication with the engineer who can see the GPS position of all the cars. You can slot into a nice gap. You start that flying lap, and then a car will leave pit lane. So that's the problem. There's a lot of luck. Yes, motorsport, you make your own luck, and well, it's true of life, isn't it? But there is so much outside of your control, and that's why the qualifying we have to take with a pinch of salt, because cars will be out of position, and that will become apparent in the race this afternoon.
Already a queue of cars at the end of the pit lane. That's because the fast lane is open. So some wanting to scramble straight away. Again, the Schumacher CLRT Porsche. Ian Schenguven took it out early in Q1. That's ready to go again at the start of Q2. And others now starting to be released. Down the pit road they go there. Number 10 is the Boutsen VDS Mercedes AMG that is second in silver. Loris Cabarrus, Cesar Gazzo, Aurelian Panis, the 3 drivers, and they could end the day as Silver Cup champions. They've got a bit of a mountain to climb. They come into this 18 points down, but it's doable.
Yeah, it really is, and a good illustration of how tight pit lane is as well. You have to work with your neighbours. You can see the yellow Mercedes now with Cairoli aboard the 48 trying to push into fast lane. And it's like any traffic jam in the real world. You've just got to commit to it, and you're not here to make friends. And luckily for him, the Greystone GT on its first entry, their sister car there with a problem pulling off straight away into the slow lane.
Absolutely. So 81 then grinds to a halt. And what do they do now? Can they get? Is it the wrong side of the white line? Can they get it back? Yeah, they can't push that back, can they? Because it's technically left the pit lane.
Car can't reverse, can't be touched. Its only option is to drive 4.6 kilometres, but something straight away wrong on the car. And the only chance now is a full reset on the electrical system.
It's got power, hasn't it? So it's not died. The lights are on. So hopefully they're in at Salikov. He's on the radio to the Windward team. There's a marshal there trying to get his attention. I think he was suggesting go backwards, but you can't do that.
No, I don't know if the marshal's suggesting he would push it, and then that would be outside assistance. You can see Salikov there getting probably a bit frustrated with the marshal, but they are going to push it. And is that going to get in the way of the WRT team, which are tight on pit exit anyway?
Now, one of the SRO pit officials comes across to assess the situation and oversee this, because he will know the regulations far more than the marshals, and if the regulations say you can't touch it, that needs to be adhered to. So there'll be radio communications between officials and race control, and also between driver and team. So that's a drama that 81 could well do without, because don't forget that that car is second in bronze and therefore is in a championship battle.
Yeah, and a full reset has been done. You can see Salikov now saying to the officials something with his hands. So maybe he's happy, maybe he's pulled away and there's been an alarm on the dash and he's having to do a full reset. I think he's saying, push me back. This problem looking more and more terminal for the 81 car.
So the car is pushed back as we can now concentrate on the healthy cars, which are on the circuit. So over the timing line has just gone 22, Larry ten Voorde, very, very successful Porsche 1 make champion, driving in this part of qualifying. Here comes 48, Matteo Cairoli, his first season driving a Mercedes AMG, not a factory driver, but parachuted into the team, and he has looked mighty in this car, just as he has in European Le Mans Series, for example, in LMP2 prototypes. But he made his name as a Porsche driver, had a rather frustrating season with Lamborghini, and this year has slotted in to join Engel and Auer very, very well indeed.
Yeah, he's been a great addition, hasn't he? And he's done well with the traffic as well. It looks like these early goers in Q2 have got the space. He's on the headlight flasher, just letting the Valkenhurst Aston Martin in front of him know that he is on a push lap. And it's a good sector one. It was purple. That's now been taken away. And it's a Porsche that's stolen it. The Porsche is looking very strong here this morning at Barcelona.
Absolute best sector one by Larry ten Voorde then. The Flying Dutchman, Matteo Cairoli, dropping downhill in the Mercedes AMG. There's a Valkenhorst Aston there getting out of the way. So ten Voorde doing a Guven, if you like, looking to set the initial target time in the Porsche. You're on board now with Cairoli. Road clear ahead of him up at 9.
Yeah, the Aston Martin got out of the way well of Soderstrom there. So now look at all that clear space. His competitors will be jealous at that. They've timed it really well at the man filter. Windward Racing through sector 2, a 40.2. That's okay. This is going to be another low 1 minute 40 lap, I think, for the 48 car. Keeping it somewhere at the sharp end. And that's what you need to do as one of the three drivers, is deliver the lap. And at the moment, this car looking like it's going to be starting somewhere on the first 3 rows of this 60 car field.
So here is Matteo Cairoli then coming down towards the end of the lap, and we will see in a moment where this is going to put the car. You can see the lap time, you can see the average. He goes fastest. It's a 1:39.947 then for Matteo Cairoli. And ten Voorde goes even faster to do a 39.920. So that now, as the average lap, is a 1:40 for the Porsche, 94 thousandths up on the Mercedes.
Sean Gallagher here, we're on board with him. The 991 is on a stonking lap 2. This is on for a high 1 minute 39 as well. And it's Cairoli's sector 3 that was phenomenally fast. And Gallagher just about keeping a wheel on the white line. Huge snap of oversteer as we turned into the final corner. That's made him run wide. We're going to lose this lap. We've lost 3 or 4 tenths with the oversteer. We saw this car yesterday talking about rear grip balance, and he was saying it was loose, and that was a great illustration. And again, a snap of oversteer for the 50 Ferrari. These cars seem to be very low grip around the whole circuit.
So up towards the completion of a lap, then comes Antonio Fuoco in number 50 Ferrari, as this is currently the car 11th. It is Alfred Renauer at the wheel.
That was a lap from Fuoco as well, a 39.4. That's the fastest lap we've had of the weekend. So now the 50 Ferrari taking it to the sister 51. The AF Course team seem to be having good pace right now.
Over the timing line then comes Renault, the Herbert Motorsport car, and that moves up the order to 9th. What you have on that graphic is the average, whereas we've also got the isolated session times, and at the moment Antonio Fuoco is the fastest on a 39.488. So again, that Ferrari looking very, very racy indeed, although the average is still advantage Porsche. It's the sister AF Corsa Ferrari, so we need to see where 51 of Vincent Abril is, and the answer currently is that he has yet to record a flying lap. As you look at Nicole Grenier now, board number 9.
Yeah, like you say, the timing tower showing us combined time. So cars will drop and fall, especially as we wait for Q2 drivers to register a time as Grenier comes through the last corner. But if you do want individual qualifying and a lot more data, the GT World app is free to download on iOS and Android and gives you a huge amount of information as Grenier puts a lap in that puts him 4th.
And this is the flying Fuoco then on fire, isn't he, Antonio Fuoco, as he's got the Kessel Ferrari up the road ahead. Antonio Fuoco's best lap thus far is the 39.488. Good first sector, not so good middle sector. Comes across the timing line. Can he improve from second? No, he stays second, and the lap is slightly slower by around about 1/10 of a second. So same pattern. A second push lap seems to start well, but ebbs away. The tyres are almost suggesting they've got a lap and a half in them.
Yeah, or do you need to push a bit harder on your out lap to make them really ready on lap 1? Rolling lap, if you put your sector 2, 3 and 1 together, would be very fast, but unfortunately the lap is made up 1, 2 and 3.
That's Renat Salikov then back in the Winward Racing pit box, having been pushed there by the team, but big dramas. That car having not yet been able to turn a lap, and as you say, something very suddenly went wrong. The car was released and straight away Salikov peeled out of the lane. The trouble was he crossed the white line at pit exit. This is another newcomer this weekend, the Greystone GT McLaren. It's number 77 as you see. Amongst the drivers are Zach Meakin, currently behind the wheel, who's raced in GT4 as well as in the McLaren Trophy, and this year's McLaren Trophy champions Michael O'Brien, who's been a GT3 race winner in the British Championship, and Jaden Kelly, the Australian. As down the pit lane comes Matteo Cairoli. Work done.
Yep, 3rd place at the moment for this car. Like I said, I think this is going to be top 3 rows, so somewhere inside the top 6 by the end of all 3 qualifying sessions. Ben Tuck here in the 777 Almana, this white WRT BMW, and Ben Tuck, one of the busiest drivers out there at the moment. He seems to be racing every weekend, and speaking with the team, they've been very impressed with the young Englishman's performance this year.
He's come a long way from Mazda MX-5 racing, as Ben Tuck, looked after by Ollie Gavin, and it's been a good idea to place him in the WRT squad this year, and in gold, where he's quietly gone about the business, hasn't he? He's had a class win, he's fighting for the championship, but has been able to do that away from the brightest of spotlights. Comes across the line 4th fastest, good effort this. So Ben Tuck, 5th in the session, puts the car 4th on average, 93 here. The Ziggo Sport Tempesta car, the very rapid Eddie Cheever at the wheel of it.
Yeah, and this car also run by AF Course, so the 50 and the 51 out the same stable. They seem to have a fast car there at AF Course. We've got a slow car in front. Is that the RGN car potentially just setting up a lap? Okay, at the moment, won't be in the dirty air. Through the final corner for Cheever. This lap should be somewhere inside the top 8 in the session. Keeps it very legal on the last corner. Was that too conservative? Crosses the line now. The car goes up to 5th place for Eddie Cheever.
And 7th in this part of qualifying. Now, this is Vincent Abril in the car that Alessio Rovera was fastest in during Q1. So we need to see where Abril can get in terms of the average time, in terms of the grid position, threading his way then past the traffic. Marvin Kirchhoff, in the meantime, has done an absolute best in the 1st sector in McLaren number 59. That's the Pro Cup entry. Abril, personal best. Now it's a proper flying lap, a proper push lap if you prefer. He's got a Valkenhorst Aston just up the road ahead. But this needs to be in the 39s, doesn't it?
It does. Luckily for him, that Valkenhorst getting out the way. Very legal on track limits. Again, the drivers have got to find the right line. Too wide, you lose the lap. Too conservative, you're too slow anyway. He pushes to the line now. Where's this car going to go up to? Back to P1.
It is indeed. So Vincent Abril then is 3rd in the session, but the car is fastest on the average lap time. So Abril did a 39.868, and the average time is 3 thousandths below that. This is Kirchhoff at personal bests in sectors 1 and 2, and they are absolute best as well. Bit of a twitch there as the car comes into turn 14, but Marvin Kirchhofer now looking to go quicker than anybody. A 39.488, the best of the session. He does a 39.283 to go fastest in Q2 and to put that car onto provisional pole position.
That's a stonking lap to get ahead of the 51, 3 purple sectors, and that was a lap and a half from Kirchhofer. How many times have we said that this season? Jules Gounod now taking over the 17. Lucas Stoltz, remember, outside the top 20 in Q1. So this needs to be a big lap to get this car somewhere inside the top 15. Would be a good result by the end of Q2 for Jules Gounod.
As the car now comes up towards the timing line, so the Get Speed Mercedes AMG will break the beam, and 10th is the answer then. So up to 10th goes Mercedes 17, and the car 8th in this part of qualifying, 8th in Q2, 10th on average. Jesse Krohn now, he needs a big lap as well because the car's only 50th, now it's 15th, so that's a big improvement. Up the order it jumps, the Rover Racing entry, briefly 20th in Q2. Jesse Krohn behind the wheel then, as there is Louis Pret now at the wheel of 58. This car is 3rd in Q2.
Yeah, the graphic is an orange sector, but it's a good sector to be less than a tenth and a half off. Kirchhofer's sector 1 is no mean feat. Green sector 2, so this could be a very strong lap as well. This could be a 39.7, 39.8, which would be a great lap from Louis Pret and keep them at the moment provisional pole in the gold class.
So Pret then 3rd in the average order, 4th in the Q2 isolated order. Gets that BMW from the WRT stable just up the road ahead. Let's see whether that compromises by much as Pret now pulls the pin, accelerates up towards the timing line, goes through and stays 3rd on the average, and he's up to 3rd in the times. That was an improvement. Now Marvin Kirchhofer's 39.283 remains the best, 0.2 of a second, as here is Jules Gounod masquerading as Lucas Stoltz because the driver ID needs changing, still pushing.
Yeah, and 2 improvements. Are we going to see the standard second lap syndrome where the first 2 sectors are good and the 3rd one drops away? Balance looking okay, maximising track width there at the exit 13. Same story at 14, pushes to the line now. Car has dropped to 12th on this last lap, goes back up to 9th. Good lap from Jules Gounod.
It is indeed then. And what about the WRT BMW? Sean Wirtz at the wheel, 53rd at the moment in terms of an average time, and Wirtz then breaks the beam. That should rocket up the order, and 18th is the answer. So Charles Wirtz goes up to provisionally 18th on the grid, but not quite as quick as you might have hoped for that car.
No, seems hard work, doesn't it, at the moment for the 32. Here's Luke Rensler, 57th at the moment for car 63. This will go up a long way, 43rd, and the final sector there, 3.5 seconds lost. Did he have to overtake the 52 car there, the AF Course Ferrari car behind?
Yeah, it wasn't that good a lap, was it, for Engschler, but maybe that was a semi-push lap. There's more to come. And with traffic in the way, he might have had to have bailed out of that lap going towards the end through turn 13. So this is Engschler now, who's got another opportunity to go for it. Winner of the Crown Strike 24 Hours of Spa, remember, and also having been rapid at the Nürburgring. So it is Engschler behind the wheel, improves in sector 1.
Laying down the rubber out 4 though, the tyre now starting to work harder. This is the second lap where the tyre drops off. You've got to be more accurate as a driver. You've got to be patient with it. You can't overdrive the tyre going away from you, so you need to respect that and drive to the limits of the car. If you overdrive it, you lose time as much as underdriving, and that's the balance you have to find on this high-deck circuit here at Barcelona.
Engschler then coming up to the end of the middle sector, wide out of the curve at 9. We've got the 2Cs, Verstappen.com, Aston Martin just up the road ahead as Engschler gets to the end of sector 2. Another personal best.
Now, this is falling away pace-wise, though. They are personal best, but they're not fast, are they?
No.
And this car, I think, is going to struggle to get inside the top 20 by the end of this lap. A Lamborghini working the rear tyre hard, it seems, every time we see it exiting a second or third gear corner. It's leaving a set of 11s. Here it's Lulham, so he's going to cross the line now. Where can he put his Verstappen.com car? Here's Engschler going to finish his lap. 44th at the moment. He now goes up to 8th. That was a phenomenal end to the lap.
Really good effort. And Lulham, by the way, lost an earlier lap for track limit offences, so he's just done a time for this session that puts the car 15th in Q2. And Luca Engschler then having gone over the timing line. 17th was where the lap was in Q2, but it does bring the car into the mix on the average. So Chris Lullam here has to go again. As I say, he's just done his first proper lap, given that the earlier one was taken off him for track limit abuses. Chris Lullam, who's going to be regraded for next year in the FIA driver categorisation, and that is, on the one hand, proving good because it means he's had a successful season, but bad because he's going to go up a category.
Yeah, and it's going to have to change the class there in the 111. CSA McLaren finally gets out of his way. It wasn't a fast sector one at all for Lullam, and when you've lost your fastest lap, you need to regroup, and the checkered flag is now out.
So the session at an end. In other words, it's the last chance saloon for many of them. Chris Lullam now coming up behind the S8 Krohn BMW, the Nürburgring winning car that gets out of the way and lets the Aston go. And still pushing on as well. Look there, Luca Engschler, but he's down in the middle sector.
Yeah, and I think he's going to struggle to improve. Still pushing, takes a big cut. I wonder if that's just testing the track limit technology there. Is he going to finish that? Was that a test in the race to see, is that a potential bit of a joker line? If it's not policed, it's not illegal.
13 is police, both inside and outside, and he comes into the pit lane then. So fast is Marvin Kirchhofer, a 1:39.283. Car's getting lighter on fuel all the time, so in theory, Q3 ought to be the fastest. But it does rather depend how the team have played it on their driver rotation. There, Nicky Tim comes down the pit lane, 26th in Q2. And better than that on the average, but the Aston has struggled a bit for pace this season, never mind this weekend. So the AF Corsa team will now put the Le Mans winning Ye Yifei into the car. He's good to go, and then we'll see what the 51 Ferrari can do in relation to the rest of the grid. Now, turn 13 out for Luca Engschler. The last lap has just been taken off him. And at turn 9 he was warned, so that last lap was a sort of double whammy, but significantly not penalised for the inside at 10, which was the corner you were talking about, and the cut. So he knows what you can get away with and what you can't. As far as we stand in the average classification order at the moment, it is number 59 McLaren then. Loke and Kirchhofer have gone. Rovera and Abril are second, ahead of Smalley and Pratt. Rougier and Gachet, Guven and Tenvoorde are fifth, and then it's Alessio Dono and Antonio Fuoku in sixth in their Ferrari. Auer and Cairoli's efforts have put them seventh, and Niederhauser and Picariello, their championship rivals, are 11th. Got to go down quite a long way to 20th on the grid though now to find Kelvin van der Linde and Charles Weers. Gold pole provisionally Smalley and Pratt, silver pole for now Baldwin and Guillaume Oliveira, and in the Bronze Cup, Chris Froggatt and Eddie Cheever are currently atop the times there.
We missed Lullam finishing his lap. He went 15th in the session, so he did well to recover after losing that to track limits. Interestingly, I thought, as we rode on board with Engschler, not pushing on pit entry. That's your last chance to practice before the race.
True enough. So it's now going to be Jordan Pepper to bring that car through the final 15 minutes of the session. And again, of course, in an endurance race, there's always the question about how relevant is the qualifying. Does it really matter over 3 hours? Well, yes, of course it does. And especially here where you've got that turn 1, 2, 3 sequence where if you're in the body of the field, there's all sorts of jeopardy. Marvin Kirchhofer with Alex in the pits.
Marvin, yet again, you are on dominant form in your qualifying. That was a brilliant lap.
Yeah, it was a really good one. I mean, we knew we only get one shot, really, if you get it together in your first lap. We know we have a very competitive package. So, yeah, very pleased with the lap itself.
Very competitive. And McLarens are on form. 3 top steps for class so far.
Well, I mean, I really need to credit the team, Garage 59. I mean, they've been around for a few years now. They've been very successful in the past. We didn't really have the easiest of times in the last years, but they really stepped up their game. McLaren doing their part as well, and we've got a really good package, and I'm very, very thankful to be part of this team.
Great, well done, good start.
Thank you.
Marvin Kirchhofer then, fastest in Q2, and we've been saying all year about the pace of the Garage 59 McLarens. Reliability was a bit of a drama early on, but once that's been sorted out, to tie in with the speed, they've been looking really good, particularly in Sprint Cup, of course.
Yeah, they've been very strong, and the average qualifying position for this car in the endurance has been 6.75, so inside the top 7 is very good. And when you take the top 20 average qualifying positions, McLaren is the most popular manufacturer inside the top 20, so pace is there. Reliability seems to be getting better for this 720S Evo GT3 car.
So the McLarens then becoming more of a factor against Ferrari right now for pole, and the grid will be decided after this final 15 minutes. Teams getting ready, WRT at pit out next to them, the Winward team, and of course those are 2 of the 3 teams involved in that battle for the Pro Cup Championship. The other team is there, Porsche. You look at the blue and yellow car, that's now going to be Sven Müller, sprint winner at Zandvoort. Very quick this year. We've seen him in British GT. It's been great to have him in British GT racing. Sven Müller will take that car out into the session. You've got the CSA McLarens as the drone hovers over the pit lane, and Ricardo Feller in the Lion Speed GP Porsche eager to go. He's in the fast lane already. That was a car that was damaged yesterday in free practice. Patrick Cole put the car off, having gone 5th quickest early on, and the car stayed actually in the mix for the session. They did get it back out again, so it was a tough start to the weekend for Lion Speed, but that's a team that's really moved on a huge amount. Patrick Cole's got better and better as the year has gone on as well.
Yeah, very, very true. Down in 47th at the moment. Feel like they've been on pit exit every single session this morning. Q1 and 2, I remember that car being there, so that's been their strategy. So now, final quali, the crunch time. Who's got a chance? This 59 car currently leading, but the 58 car is only just behind. Dean McDonald versus Benji Goethe in this Q3. The CSA car, the other McLaren, is in 4th. Of course, we've got the 51 car now with Ye Yafei, but I still quite fancy the 22 Schumacher Porsche now with Goretti behind the wheel as well. So this could be interesting. Max Jensen there going for the championship in the silver category as well.
Be a real test of Goretti though to step up from a one make Porsche to a GT3 spec car. He's of course the Super Cup champion, but a GT3 car with yet more aero. There is then Mauro Engel ready to go in 48. Ricardo Feller, former sprint champion, DTM champion, sitting at the end of the pit lane. Thierry Vermeulen has joined the queue for the Verstappen.com team. Greystone GT McLaren released down the pit lane as well. Others keeping their powder dry here. But the Schumacher Porsche, as we've been saying, with Guven and Ten Voorde at the wheel, has gone really nicely. There, Hugo de Wilde ready to go. Interesting that he takes the last stint in qualifying, but the former single-seater turned LMP3 racer, whose sister works for WRT as well as part of their communications team. He is ready for Q3.
Maybe the lightweight nature of cars he's used to, prototypes and single-seaters. He prefers the lighter car. Cars have to start the 3 qualifying sessions with the fuel for the full run of it. So they'll be anywhere from 50 to 85 to 90 kilos of fuel, which has now been burnt off to 66% of the running. So the car's at their lightest, at their fastest, and the track the same now. It's rubbering up. Track temp coming up, 22.5 degrees, but this is still a fast track. Although look at the breeze in pit lane, starting to pick up as a tailwind into turn 1.
New Pirellis then go on to Sven Müller's Porsche. He's ready to go. And Ricardo Feller will lead them out as the green lights go on at the end of the pit lane. Mauro Engel gets out his elbows, joins the queue in the yellow Mercedes. Keep an eye as to whether 81 is able to join this part of qualifying or whether it's still got problems and he's going to have to start at the back. No sign yet.
Wily old Fox Engel there, just creeping out of pit lane. He could be flat out now, but the narrow nature of the pit exit, meaning no one can overtake, so he's just trying to get himself a gap to the cars in front. The problem when you do that, the cars in front then just use the gap that you've created. So he's just trying to find himself as much space as possible. It feels like Q3, the most amount of cars leaving early on we've had this morning.
Yeah, and Rutronic sending their cars out early, whereas they were lagging back in Qs 1 and 2, weren't they? So Ricardo Feller is away, chased by Thierry Vermeulen there in the Verstappen.com Aston Martin. It is Thierry's father Raymond who manages Max Verstappen, Max himself, a GT3 race winner around the Nordschleife a couple of weeks back. And now everybody else pouring out onto the circuit. It's going to be a very busy racetrack. 81, I noticed, was creeping forward. He's now being pushed back into the garage as tyre temperature is the focus for the drivers on this prep lap.
Yeah, and just making sure they're all A-OK, weaving left to right, just to make sure they're clean, just getting rid of the releasing agent. And what can that 33 Verstappen.com car do? And I've got to say, what a fan of motorsport Max Verstappen is. We know what a great driver is. That's not the discussion we're having. But the money he's putting into this element of motorsport shouldn't be overshadowed. And it's a great legacy he's leaving within our GT World community.
And shouldn't be long, I suspect, before we start to see him more regularly on GT grids. Great enthusiast. So there is the Verstappen.com car. Thierry Vermeulen, who's been busy racing not only in GT World Challenge Europe, but GT World Challenge Asia and DTM, comes up towards the timing line and goes through now. So on to a flying lap. Still there are cars leaving the pit lane, though, so it's going to be busy up the road ahead, as there is the Fabian Schiller Mercedes AMG going down towards turn one. And we know that Fabian Schiller is good.
That was a huge snap of oversteer as he hit the brakes into one, though. And we did used to see cars straddle the curb into turn one, like he will probably do here, under braking for turn four. But I think he just touched the curb and it unsettled it. And maybe the rear brake's not quite up to temperature. Vermeulen now trying to flash that Rinaldi Ferrari, who's on his outlap, so he should dive out of the way. But he wants to keep his own tyres clean, so wants to try and stick to the racing line.
Vermeulen so far the fastest in the first sector. So the front engine Aston Martin accelerates down the hill. Remember, they've been splitting their time, Thierry Vermeulen and Chris Lullen, between this and also the Ferrari in Sprint Cup. So two very different types of race car. They are already the overall championship Gold Cup winners. You take the points from Sprint and Endurance and you combine them, and in that championship they are untouchable. And to do that in two different types of car is very impressive indeed.
Really is. Mara Engel here on board within the 48, about to break the beam, sector 2, as we go under the new hospitality unit before turn 10, and is not looking like a mega lap. You can see it compared to Schiller in another Mercedes, different teams of course, but he's behind Schiller's lap at the moment and behind Vermeulen's as well. So out of the three cars on their first flyers, he's the slowest out of them at the moment.
As up towards the timing line now does come Fabian Schiller to break the beam, and he does a 1:39.332 then. That puts that car briefly at the top, but Ricardo Feller has gone even faster now to do a 39.309. Vermeulen a 39.4 to slot in third, and Engel a 39.957 to be fourth. But it puts 17 Mercedes then at the top of the times on the average, and 53 thousandths back is Engel.
Yeah, and he was 100th slower than his teammate of Caroli in Q2, so I'd expect Engel to be slightly quicker because of the lighter fuel. And it's Max Jensen, isn't it, with a purple sector one? But here's Sven Muller in the Retronic Porsche. This is going to be a good lap. This is going to put them somewhere near the sharp end by the time he finishes it, if he can keep it legal, which he does. Pushes to the line now and breaks the beam at 1:39.8, goes third on the overall.
And therefore is one place behind championship rivals Manfield to number 48 Mercedes on the grid, as now Max Janssen with a really good opening sector comes up towards the end of the lap. It's not necessarily where they are overall that's the focus, but where they are in the Silver Cup, because that's the championship battle. And Max Janssen breaks the beam and puts the car into the top 10. The Century Motorsport car second currently, now third in fact in silver, because behind we've just had Porsche number 54 go through. Dennis Marshall's Ferrari then is 10th on the grid, but fastest in this session, a 39.241, best lap of the day.
Yep, and fastest in the bronze category. Dennis Marshall in some real form, isn't he? Him and Kirchhoff have really been the standout drivers for me this year in GT World Challenge. Here's Engel getting picked up with a bit of traffic now behind the camo-coloured Get Speed car. He'll just to be okay here through turns 13. This is where the drivers are cutting the inside as much as they dare. So there's two track limits, one there, one on the exit, just about legal. Just a slight lift, brush on the brakes, get the front in here. Fourth gear, 140, 150 kilometres an hour. Now going to the line. Can he improve his first lap? It's not been done often, and it's not 2/10 slower than his first effort.
As a big flash of the lights here, Alessandro Giretti, personal best and absolute best, but the traffic's getting in the way, isn't it? The Grasser Lamborghini number 19, and it will not budge. That's on a push lap as well, but the Porsche being badly compromised here, and Giretti backs out of it. He can do no more. And then that, as he backs out, slightly compromises those behind. So Giretti has to bail out of the lap, but that's a massive frustration.
backing out of a lap with a purple. Sector 2 will hurt. The tyre dropping off. He's done well to get him a clear lap. And you're right, the 19 was pushing, so was never going to get out of his way as the 3 car in the gravel and out the gravel, exit of turn 3.
That's Anthony Bartone rejoining, getting back up to pace. Almost camouflage in the gravel there in that colour scheme as Ricardo Feller in the meantime, who is second fastest. You've got the platinum and gold graded drivers in the bronze cut 1 and 2 here. You've got Marshall and Feller fastest in Q3, and they're both out of bronze. Feller here then comes down towards the end of the back straight, but he's got traffic up the road ahead. It's great to have Ricardo Feller going so well in that car, but it's a real shame that he's not still on the manufacturer programme and fighting for overall honours.
Yeah, and a good lap from Fuminelli in the other Kessel car. The crazy livery one is the way I would synopsise that one. Fella here going through sector 3 now. He's going to box. He's bailed out of this. The tyre has gone for him, and that is going to be their position. Best case is going to be third in the bronze class. Here is Hugo de Wilde at the as well. This is going to be a difficult sector to keep clean.
So Hugo de Wilde here getting himself up through the traffic as well in number 32 BMW, accelerating up now around turn 12. The Schumacher CLRT team are very unhappy about the number 19 Lamborghini getting in the way. I don't think it was deliberately getting in the way, it was just there. But into the pit lane in the background goes Greystone GT's McLaren. De Wilde comes up to the line. This ought to be an improvement, and it needs to be, to haul the car up from 41st on the grid. De Wilde breaks the beam. He's up to 11th, so a big lap there to drag the car back into the equation. The Team WRT number 32 BMW then 11th, and the session has got 7 minutes and change on the clock.
And Goretti gets that car up to third on his second flyer, 77 thousandths off pole. Look how close that is. The top 4 covered less than a tenth, and that's with all 3 drivers combined times. And actually, I can see why Schumacher weren't happy, because that car was on an outlap, the 19 car, and now as Goretti lost his lap, he has turned 13. He is now all the way down in 9th after losing that lap. So I think that's probably them done. I can't see him improving on the 3rd flyer. So the 22 in 9th is probably going to stay there.
81, we understand, is not going to be able to rejoin qualifying, so whatever that problem is, it's a big one as Yeifei gets way up the yellow banana curve, the sausage curve there, coming out of turns 7 through 8, and as he comes out of 9 now, this car 35th in the times. You're looking at Al-Faisal Al-Zubair as well in gold, and of course he's fighting for championship honours here in another of those WRT run cars, the Al-Manar Racing by WRT car up to 9th. Good lap by Al-Faisal Al-Zubair, who really has adapted well to GT cars. Perhaps struggled a bit more in single-seaters, but he's going really well in GT racing. He's looked, again, impressive this year.
Yeah, and impressive sector 2 for Yeifei, but his sector 1 was a little bit off. Is this going to be the difference? Is this going to stop the 51 getting on pole? We're still yet to see the 59 and 58 McLarens put their times in Q3. They're nowhere at the moment, and Yeifei goes up to first.
He does, but that's not being reflected on that average. It was 18th in the session. It was a 140.228. Now that is confirmed on the timing tower. So Yeifei's efforts put the car fastest on average, even though that was only the 18th best lap in Q3. I'm slightly hesitant that it might be taken away for track limits, but it has stood as Alex Arca in silver, number 99, then the Audi comes up over the line. Dean McDonald, look, has done a personal and an absolute best. Alex Arca goes up to 7th now in the Audi, and Dean McDonald is coming down towards turn 14, 41st in the time. So where is the number 58 Garage 59 McLaren going to end up? He will break the beam now, and the answer is first. Fastest on average goes Dean McDonald, and that is a 39.6 as the average time, a 39.3 as the lap time. So Dean McDonald 5th in Q3, but he puts the car onto provisional pole.
Purple sector 2 as well. Goethe just in front is starting his first push lap as well. We can see him here in turn 10. It's been a good lap so far. This is going to be incredibly tight between the 58 and this 59. The car squirreling under traction, 550 horsepower, trying to be laid down on this slippery surface. A big snap of oversteer as well. Goethe's had a standout year. I've said already, he's gone from a silver rated driver, in my opinion, to a very fast gold. He's got 1 more corner to go. Will this be pole?
So far, it's a McLaren from the Garage 59 stable on pole, but is it going to be displaced by the sister car as Goethe breaks the beam? Goes second. It is a Garage 59 1-2, then 58 from 59.
1,000th between them. How would you want fair between 2 sister cars?
That's the average margin. In terms of the session, Goethe was 9th. You've also got Tom Fleming in another of the Garage 59 McLarens up to 8th in the session. There he is. This is Tom Fleming then. That's 7th on average and 8th in Q3. Dennis Marshall then is the fastest of all of the day, and the car 24th on the grid. But Dennis Marshall's 1:39.241, 68 thousandths up on Ricardo Feller as the top time.
McDonald's on a chance here, although it's not an improved sector 2. He already had purple, so he's 400ths up. Fleming's going to cross the line first in the 188 McLaren. Where's he going to go? 7th at the moment. He goes up to 5th. Can McDonald get a bigger gap than 1,000th? He crosses the line. No, tyres gone. Yeah. What has Pepper got? This car seems to be flirting with us. Hits the limiter there, trying to get rid of a gear shift into turn 9. The V10 Lamborghini engine bouncing off the rev limiter.
It's got to be a big lap, this, because it's only 51st in the times, this car, and Jordan Pepper has not yet got a lap time. So whatever he has here is going to be it, pretty much, with 3 more minutes to go. The South African driver then makes the run out of turn 12. It's busy up the road. There's a Porsche ahead, which hopefully is going to get out of the way. Jordan Pepper, just when he doesn't need traffic, he's going to encounter a slower car, I fear. Raffaele Marciello has gone across the line and put the Rover BMW 17th. Jordan Pepper then accelerates up toward the line. Don't get distracted by the Porsche ahead. And Jordan Pepper will break the timing beam now to go 8th fastest then on average in number 63. And that's Marciello running wide and getting a wheel into the dirt. And I think he's backed out of the lap. He has.
Yeah, you think he's going to try and go for another one, but he's not in the best bit of space. It's Bastien Boos in front of Pepper. Luckily for him, Boos about to start a fast lap. Goretti's lost another lap at some point. He's down to 16th now. Disastrous session for the 22 car. That had a chance of pole position, but this session has unravelled.
Yeah, that was track limits. He had a lap taken off him for track limit offences. This is Marciello also running wide. Very wide, in fact, coming there out of turn 12.
Stone's getting brought onto the circuit as well. Is that a Dick Dastardly move just to try and slow the cars behind, or is that him just pushing beyond the limit of the 98 car, which at the moment down in 19th place? That's going to be a difficult 3-hour race for them this afternoon that starts at 3 p.m. local time.
Trying to think back to whether we have had, under the combined qualifying system, a non-Pro Cup car on pole position. We have had bronze on pole at Spa, but that comes out of the Hyperpole. But right now you've got a Gold Cup McLaren then on provisional pole position by 1,000th of a second. We might be making history before we go racing even here. So the number 58 McLaren on average times the fastest. And we've got a minute and a half just about before the checkered flag comes out here.
Yeah, we had a bronze car on pole, didn't we, at Spa 24 in 2023, but that was
a Hyperpole session, yeah, exactly. Not the combined qualifying, as I was saying. So there, Marciello, he was going for another lap, but it's been spoilt by 2 slower sectors and traffic in the way, so he's backed out of it, and that's Marciello done.
Yeah, and he's trying to dive out of the way, but actually I think the Comtu Aston Martin's on an in-lap as well, so you get a bit of awkward communication of trying to help someone out, but you both hold the door for each other and end up just tripping over each other.
Track's getting a bit quieter now, with more and more of them having done what they can, heading into the pit lane, so Marciello is, I think, going to follow suit. The Ford Mustang there rumbles its way over the line, one of the 2-Hap Racing Team cars, and in terms of shuffling to the grid, I don't think we're going to have very much more now.
Do you think Garage 59 will be happy with their qualifying? 60% of the top 5 is occupied by themselves.
I think they'll be content with that. I mean, the question of the 188 crew will be, why couldn't you have got third? But really, really happy there. Adam Smalley, Louis Pret with his crash helmet on, Dean McDonald celebrating. And they know that with everybody else of pace now in the pit lane, they're done. Even Philippe Pret there joining in the celebrations, father of Louis and GT2 AM champion himself this year. This is former Alpine champion Laurence Leclerc.
Yeah, finishing the lap at the moment, 59th there. Needs to get this car up the order to stay in this very competitive silver class. Traffic getting out of his way, so he's got everything there. Checkered flag now out, keeps it legal. Going to push the line. It's going to be in the 1:40s when he breaks the beam. 1:41 actually, the last sector going away from him. Gets the car up to 40th.
So good effort done there, as James Kell, you're looking at there in the McLaren, second of the cars in shot there, and James down in that middle sector then in number 111. Pretty experienced racer these days, James. He finds a seat in just about any GT championship going, doesn't he?
Yeah, and his father racing a McLaren GT3 as well in the UK. This car hasn't registered a lap time yet. This lap, not the fastest from James Kell, but I think it will get him inside the top 10, maybe even inside the top 8, depending on how this final sector goes. But interesting strategy from CSA here to only allow Carroll to get one lap on unless he's lost track limit laps.
He has. So James Carroll goes through in his 11th at the end. That's a very, very good effort. But yes, he had lost at least one lap through track limit offences. So celebrations for McLaren drivers as they're the combined efforts of Louis Pret, Adam Smalley and Dean McDonald nearest to us, puts the number 58 car to pole position for Garage 59.
It was actually Kirchhoff's Q2 time that was the fastest out of all 180 drivers, though. So a 39.2 for him versus McDonald's 39.3.
And Kirchhoff's time was a
39.283.
So Marshall slightly quicker.
Oh, sorry, yes.
2:41. So Dennis Marshall in Q3 does the best time of the day, but only by hundreds. But even so, bragging rights are available. And of course, Marvin Kirchhoff will point out that the car was lighter on fuel and all the other excuses. But Dennis Marshall then, the fastest of anybody, and that coming from the Bronze Cup. Right, well, that was dramatic, and that was only qualifying. So Adam Smalley, Louis Pret, Dean McDonald are on pole position, and they're on the gold pole as well. Second going the way of Joseph Lope, Marvin Kirchhoff and Benji Goethe. That car then is the fastest from the overall class, if you like, ahead of Alessio Rivera, Vincent Abril and Ye Yifei. Best of the silvers, James Baldwin, Guillermo Oliveira and Tom Fleming. And you've got to go a little bit further down the order to find the best of the bronzes. But that top 20, very competitive. Fair play to Greystone, getting the 77 McLaren up there. Damage sustained in testing in the week, but a top 20 is a good outcome. 14th for the Guven Tenvoorde Giretti Porsche that's not really fighting for the championship. The Porsche that is, the Niederhauser Picariello Müller car, is 10th. And for WRT in the end, BMW number 32 having a slightly tougher session. That ends up 21st. Ahead of the Mattia Drudi, Nicky Tim, Marco Sorensen, Aston, and Nicola Rossi, Nicola Schiro and David Fuminelli are the best of the bronzes on the average. Dennis Marshall's time bringing the Blattner Larison car up to 26th overall. Cole Rindone Feller third in class. And inevitably, there are one or two that are going to be out of sequence, like Gabriele Piana, Renat Salikov and Marvin Dienst. They are relying effectively on the Piana time, but because they weren't able to get the three, then that car is going to start at the back of the grid, assuming that the problems can be cured, ready to go racing. So that does give us a really nice jumble grid, and I suspect the first few corners are going to be very frantic indeed.
Yeah, a great session from McLaren. That was the big takeaway from that. And although that's their 5th endurance pole as a brand, that's the first for all 3 of those drivers. So fantastic job to the car crew of the 58.
So the teams now have a pretty brief period to sort the cars for the race. Let's look at the highlights of qualifying then here at the Circuit de Catalunya, with a busy track for the first part of qualifying. Porsche taking on McLaren. Good effort by Adam Smalley for Garage 59 in Q1, but a very good effort by Alessio Rovera, who went fastest of all. Rovera in the number 51 AF Corsa run Ferrari. Q2 started very badly indeed for Renat Salikov, 81 Mercedes, joining the fast lane and then having to bail, and that was a problem that put the car out for the rest of the session, as Eddie Cheever was looking good in number 93, and Ben Tutt likewise in the 777 Almanar Racing by WRT BMW. Antonio Fuoco charging along in number 50 Ferrari to drag that into the equation out of a good effort in Q2, but Marvin Kirchhoff was the man to beat, and he will be the time topper in the second 15-minute part. To determine the grid then, the final 15 minutes would get underway. Thierry Vermeulen looking rapid early on, the overall championship gold winner with Chris Lullen this year, but Tom Fleming hauled 188 up to 5th. As Ye Yifei was also rapid in number 51 Ferrari, slotting in to GT machinery for the first time. Dean McDonald, though, would go fastest, and he put number 58 McLaren on to provisional pole position. And under this combined driver qualifying system, the first time we've had a non-Pro Cup car at the top of the times. So the Rover Pole Position Award to be presented by Oliver Cornish, the team lead of sponsoring and sales marketing. That will go to Dean McDonald, to Adam Smalley and to Louis Pret. And they are making their way up from the far end of the pit lane to where the presentation will be. This is how we stand in the championship, don't forget, with Cairoli, Engel and Auer 5 ahead of Muller, Picariello and Niederhauser. Van der Linde, De Wilde and Weerts are the outsiders, but they are still in with a shout, so don't rule them out. Anything can happen over 3 hours. All it takes is for damage for your rival, and it can all change. So that's the overall situation. And it's going to be a 3-way fight. So there's the race in isolation to focus on, but then there's also the championship to look at coming up later on in the day. 3 o'clock, the race starts here. Right, to the Rover Pole Position Award. Let's get back down to Alex in the pit lane.
Well, wowie, boys. You have certainly decided that you are going to shake things up today, and that is history made, the first gold car on the Rover Pole Position. I mean, how does it feel?
Oh, honestly, it's amazing. We've been close a few times this year, but all 3 of us done a mega job. The team, I mean, yesterday we were a bit in a struggle, but honestly, they've done a mega job overnight once again, and really, really happy to end the season like this.
Dean, just talk us through that lap.
I was a bit nervous, to be honest, for the lap. These guys did an absolute amazing job in Q1 and Q2, so yeah, I just had to deliver in Q3 for them and the team. So yeah, I was a bit nervous, but glad to get the job done for everyone.
Right, so how likely are we to win this class this weekend?
I mean, it won't be for lack of overall, yeah.
Oh yeah, go for the whole lot.
Yeah, it's not going to be for lack of trying. Look, these guys did an absolute mega job. Proud of what we achieved, and yeah, we had no luck all year. We've been, safe to say, probably one of the fastest without luck, and I think now's our time just to show everyone what we're capable of.
Good, fantastic result. You are now going to be handed the Rover Pole Award, courtesy of Oliver Cornish, Team Lead Sponsoring and Sales Marketing.
A 5th McLaren pole, the first outright endurance pole, of course, for Dean McDonald, for Louis Pret and for Adam Smalley. And a great result for McLaren fans with locking out the front row of the grid. An excellent job done there by Garage 59, and that is certainly going to give us a great race to round out the Endurance Cup season. It's lights out at 3 o'clock. We'll see you for all the drama of a championship deciding final round later in the day. Bye for now.